Hey, courageous school leaders. Welcome to Lead Beyond Limits, the space where school leaders like you gain unfiltered insights from educators, uncover the hidden barriers holding your staff back, and get practical strategies to lead with confidence. If you're ready to tackle the real challenges in your schools and create the clarity your team needs to thrive, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and get to work.
Good afternoon, courageous leaders. I'm trying to get my technical stuff in order here. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully you all can hear me. I'm not getting feedback in my headset, so I don't know if you can hear me. But again, hopefully you can. Welcome everybody to Lead Beyond Limits. My name is Dr. Davia, and I'm excited to see you all. Hopefully you are joining in. If you are, say something in the comments. If you're watching the replay, still create a comment. I respond to comments. So let me know what you're thinking about the session. So today is week 2 of a series called Spark. And each letter stands for a process that you as a school leader should be using in your school right now, especially that it is the beginning of the school year. We really want to hone in on the things that are really, really important for us right now, right? And so Spark is selecting a standard. And today, for week 2, we're going to talk about precision and practice. Okay. So hopefully last week you had an opportunity to listen to selecting the standard. I would love to hear your feedback on that. So last week I checked in. Also, so let me backtrack just a little bit. Over the weekend, I checked in with a former client, an assistant principal that I supported last year, for last 2 years. And we built a cadence for her team, right? There was, culturally, the building was sound. Instructionally, they needed more focus, streamlined support. So we built a cadence for her and her team. One focus walkthrough anchor, one feedback rhythm, one message that teachers can trust, not 5 different things to be looking for, but focus on one through anchor. What are we looking for in this walkthrough? What is the thing that we are focused on right now, right? When I asked her about how things were going in the beginning of the year, because we had worked on this for the past 2 years, she said, my voice is clear, my focus is clear. I feel confident in the strategy that I'm leading right now, which is amazing. I could hear it in her voice. Her voice just sounded different. She sounded more confident as a leader. No second guessing, no reaction mode, right? Just calm leadership grounded in clarity. That's the power of choosing one standard and aligning your actions around that one standard. And that's what brings us today to the P, which is precision, prove precision in practice, right? Prove precision in practice. I feel like I have a little lisp when I'm saying that. Try to say that fast 3 times. Prove precision in practice. Again, welcome. We're going to talk about this 5-part rhythm. Select and set, prove precision, assess ahead, read and reveal, and then keep score. Today, focusing on the P. Last week, we named one standard that would anchor instruction. This week, we're making sure your tasks actually match the thinking the standard demands. This is a huge misstep that I see. It was one for me. I had to learn how to figure out what is the missing piece. Why aren't students getting connecting to the standard in the way that they need to? Right? When you are focusing on this one standard and actually matching the thinking that matches the standard's demands. Look, let me backtrack. Having a focus is step one. Making sure your work actually aligns, that's where the traction comes in. Okay? You might have full calendars, which I'm sure you do as a school leader. I know I did. Your teachers are planning, walkthroughs are happening, lessons are moving forward, right? But here's the real question: is the work students are doing actually demanding the thinking the standard requires? Because if the task isn't aligned to the thinking behind the standard, you can have momentum without mastery. And I want to put a pin in this right here because I know most districts really depend on outside vendors to create to create their curriculum. Now, outside vendors who are the experts in writing curriculum are supposed to pull state standards and create the curriculum based on those state standards. However, when you really look at it and really dig deep, sometimes it's not aligned in the way that it needs to be. Sometimes it's not meeting the rigor that you need it to be for your students in your school, right? So this requires putting yourself in a place where you and your staff begin to feel uncomfort, some discomfort. So you feel uncomfortable about, double checking this task with this aligned standard. Like, how can I make this more rigorous for our students to show that the thinking is aligned with the standard, right? Again, if your task isn't aligned to the thinking behind the standard, you're going to have momentum without mastery. Okay? That's just not a teacher issue. That's a precision issue. That's not just, that requires a collaborative effort of planning and being strategic, which is what Spark is set to do for you, right? And that's where your leadership is going to matter the most when it comes to this precision. So, to prove precision in practice, let's break this down a little bit, right? Because I just want to make sure that we are working on the same understanding of what I mean when I say proving precision in practice. When you're proving precision in practice, right, ensuring task alignment with steps, that's you ensuring that task is aligned with the standards. Okay. There's two things that you want to do. So when you look at this image here, you'll see it's a funnel. And so there are assigned tasks, which either your teachers are coming up with or it comes from the curriculum that go through this funnel, right? And instead of just taking it for face value, like this is correct, check the task content. You should be checking the tasks your teachers are assigning. A lot of times we go through the entire flow of the lesson, the opening, the engagement piece, all of that. Yet skip all of that and go to the task. What is the task? Excuse me, your teachers are going to use with students. Because this is where the rubber meets the road. Okay. It's not just about what's being taught, but what students are being asked to think about in this task is what is so critical. So now you and your team, or your grade level teams, your content teams, you're going to check the task content before you teach the lesson, right? Evaluate what students are asked to think about. That's one thing. So now you're narrowing it down. You see this funnel is getting smaller. The second thing you need to do is once you are evaluating what students are asked to do, now you're going to connect the demand of those tasks back to the thinking level of the learning standard. So connected to the standard, align tasks with the thinking of the standards. Now your funnel is smaller because now you are going through the process of aligning the task to the thinking of the standard. And that thinking level matters because if your standard demands analysis or justify, but your tasks, your teacher's tasks in the lesson are asking students to list or identify, you're already behind. You've lowered the floor, right? And our Black students cannot afford that. Our Title I schools cannot afford that. We need to raise the floor. Our students will meet us at the expectation that we set. So we have to be sure that we are raising the floor and not to at least to the point where the task is aligned with the standard, right? So keep that in mind that your precision isn't just about adding more work, it's about alignment, right? Alignment, a through line here. So here's why this step is really essential. If our goal as school leaders is to move the needle instructionally and support all of the adults in the building so that students can grow, that we are providing them with the tools to grow, right? So here's why this step really matters for your walkthroughs. You can't just check for coverage, right? I've seen that so many times in schools where we're just like a checklist. So we just, yep, the learning target or objective is up. Yep. Back in the day, it used to be called AIM. I'm dating myself right now, but you can't just check your walkthroughs for like just checking it for coverage. You have to check for thinking. Are you engaging in conversations with the students? Are you asking them what they're learning about? How they know what they're learning? What's your learning target for today? Right? Asking them why is learning this important? Check for the thinking. What are the connections that they're making? This step is essential for your planning meetings. When you shift the conversation from what are we doing to what are we demanding, you have already raised the bar for that conversation. Just like students will meet us where to our level of expectation, your staff will meet you to the level of expectation too. And for those that don't, you will identify that, right? But all teachers, I haven't met one teacher who has not been in this profession without having a love for kids. Like every single teacher I know joined this profession because there was something that drove them, a passion, a desire, an experience that drove them to this career. So when you are raising the level of rigor for them and providing them with the supports, your teachers will meet you. So when you're asking the question in planning meetings where you're shifting it from what are we doing next week? Well, you have a scope and sequence, you know what you're doing already. The question should change to what are we demanding? It's also essential, this step is also really important because for your student results, when the tasks match the rigor, students don't just complete work, they're building mastery, right? And developing this critical thinking that is embedded throughout the standards. This is what makes walkthroughs feel purposeful and what makes reteaching unnecessary. That's our goal, right? Like to eliminate the need to reteach as much as possible. And the only way to do that is to get clear on the front end. And this means you're starting with the end in mind. What is the task demanding? That is a question that you're asking, right? Um, so, right now, I want you to just think about what I've shared with you. And I need you to grab your clarity and confidence reflection guide and go to your notes page. Or you can even go to the section around how this is going to help control your narrative or help you lead with confidence, or even build your legacy, right? Because once you start moving in this way, you'll see the shift in performance in your building. And so yeah, that's going to build your legacy. So get your clarity and confidence guide right now and turn to either one of those sections in the notes part of any one of those sections. And I need you to think about this. I need you to choose one of these things. Think about where your school is right now, right? And some of the challenges that you're having with your staff, right, in terms of instruction with your staff right now. And choose one of these things. Which challenge are you faced with right now? One, our tasks mostly focus on recall. Two, there's too much variety in how teachers are interpreting the standard. Three, we teach to the task and not the standard, which I see this across the board in schools because we're so dependent on curriculum. Four, we don't talk about the standards level thinking enough. So those are the four things. I'll say it again. Where are you in regard to one of these four things? Our tasks mostly focus on recall. Two, there's too much variety in how teachers are interpreting the standard. Three, we teach to the task and not the standard. Or four, we don't talk about standards thinking, like the standards thinking level enough, like in your collaborative planning meetings. Take a second, if you're watching the replay, think about which one of those four really apply to you right now in your school. You got it? Whichever one you selected, this is going to be your lens for the week. This is your lens for the week. Just you. I need you to get grounded in shifting your lens in one of these four ways. And then share it with your leadership team. Okay? Let's be honest. Some tasks look challenging, but when you get the student work and you're comparing it to the standard, they're actually really shallow. They're not deep enough. Okay? The goal here is depth, not breadth, but depth. So here are some examples. If you're trying to oh, well, Demia, what do you mean? Here are some examples of some of the things I've seen. Graphic organizers that ask students to fill in ideas instead of defending them. Just copy. Fill in your ideas for this. Either they're copying something off the board or you just want them to fill in the idea. But nothing is extended to say how you defend your idea now. Another example is group work that requires student engagement, student talk, but not thinking. You know how many times I've seen teachers walk around and students are talking to one another, but they're not really thinking about the scenario or the question that's been posed. They're saying how they feel about something, right? Not grounding it in some evidence. Here's another one. Reading tasks that require finding quotes, like search and find. Okay, you find the quote, but now what? Analyze those quotes. What do those quotes mean in relation to something you just read or something we've been discussing, right? The task format really isn't the issue here. It is the cognitive demand behind it. That is the piece that we, as leaders, school leaders, really need to support our teachers in moving toward, right? And as a leader, our job isn't just to observe the tasks, Our job is to observe the thinking. So, how are you going to reframe the questions when you go in for your quick informal observations? Talk to your students, ask them the questions about what they're learning. And so, I just want to be clear about something is that this isn't about calling teachers out. I've said this at least 2 times, is that it is about supporting teachers, and teachers will meet your level of rigor and the expectation for using the for growing students thinking behind the standard. The truth is, most of the time, teachers don't even realize that the rigor is off. Our job as a school leader is to help them see that, right? That's another conversation. I won't get down that rabbit hole, but one of the best ways to do that is the looking at student work protocol. I've said enough. But here's why a lot of some teachers don't realize that their rigor is off, because they spend a lot of time planning activities. Fun, but how is it unpacking the demands of the rigor of the standard? So I think activities are great. It has to be rooted in the level of thinking, like unpacking the demands. What is required of students for him or her to meet the level of this standard? But when everyone is moving so fast, and here's the thing, we're always like trying to get everything done quickly. When everyone is moving so fast, precision gets lost in that, like that scurrying feeling, right? Like we have to cover all these standards. We have to, you know, do the scope and sequence or before the benchmark comes. We have to, it's this scurrying kind of frantic feeling, which nobody works well under that type of pressure, and it requires you to be courageous, which is what I call you, um, to identify that one, when everyone is moving fast, that the precision is getting lost. And so your job as the school leader is to bring it back, right? Bring back clarity and remove the pressure. You have the power to do that. Okay. So if you're watching the replay, I want you to um, comment to this question. What's the thinking verb your students struggle with the most? Drop one word. It could be explain, analyze, compare, justify, or evaluate. Think about that for a second. Well, I'm sure you've gone in and have done at least one walkthrough by now. School just started, but I'm sure you have done that. From your observation in the short time school has been open, what is the one word, the one verb that you think your students struggle with the most? Analyze, explain, justify, evaluate, or compare. Now I want you to flip to your notes page in your guide again. And I want you to fill in this sentence. Make sure you have your word. In walkthroughs this week, I will look for tasks that ask students to, whatever that verb is you selected. This is your way of inspecting what matters, not just presence or pacing, but precision. Okay? In walkthroughs this week, I will look for tasks that ask students to, whatever that verb was, that your students are you feel like your students have the most challenge with. When you walk in and you hear students restating facts instead of defending positions, that tells you something. When you see tasks that look nice but don't build thinking, you know where to lead next. Okay? This is the part where alignment becomes the transformation, right? When you prove precision in practice, your teachers will stop over planning, because I was so guilty of that as a teacher. Oh my goodness, I over planned everything. I figured the more activities I had, the more engaged it would be, the more learning would occur. Yeah, no. It took me a minute to figure out, like, I am killing myself, falling asleep at the table, planning, and it's still not working. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong as a teacher? Right? And I'm sure your teachers are feeling that too, or have felt it before. They're not feeling it now because it's the beginning of the year, but give it till October, November. What am I doing wrong? Right? The over planning is a huge hurdle. It was for me. So when you prove precision in practice, your teachers will stop over planning. Your students will stop just skating by, right? And you, as a school leader, you will stop wasting time, so like supporting teachers on a reteach cycle. You were your coaches. Now, reteach cycles are necessary with the data driven cycle, which is not part of this conversation, but there will be less need for a reteach cycle that was avoidable. If you're starting with the task and identifying that and using this through line, this funnel, it will help you cut the amount of reteach cycles that are occurring. So you didn't become a supervisor to, I mean, a leader to supervise activity. That's not your role. You became a leader so that you can unlock mastery, set students up and staff up for success. So this is step 2 of the 5-part cadence spark, right? Next week, we're going to ask the question, how do you catch the breakdowns early before reteach is needed? Okay, that's going to be a nugget. You need to be here next week. So how do you catch the breakdowns early before reteach is needed? Um, and that's where we'll discuss how you can assess ahead and then adjust. And in October, I'm going to show you how to build your full clarity plan, so this cadence becomes a part of your culture. So for now, I need you to stay focused on that one demand. This is the time to do it. And I'm sorry, stay focused on the one standard and the demand that it requires. Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are we talking about? We're talking about proving precision and practice, and how that means verifying that the tasks demand the thinking the standard is calling for. Why are we talking about this? Because rigor isn't about how long something takes, it's about how deeply students are asked to think. Again, depth over breadth. If you want to build your 30-day clarity plan and lock this cadence into your school rhythm, DM me the word spark. That's how you access the Leader Lift review, where you'll get a strategic clarity map aligned to your school building or campus. Okay, so I need you to tag a colleague who needs to conversation, because alignment isn't about being perfect. Okay, it's about being purposeful. So next week we'll dig into how to spot gaps early, so you'll learn, so you will lead with the like foresight and not no regret on, oh my gosh, I should have done this or that. So until then, stay clear, stay bold, and keep leading beyond limits. I will see you next week.